What's good, you too, man? It's your boy SB, and I'm back with another sports break. Now, these MLB playoffs is about to get started later on this week. There's a lot to look forward to when it comes to that. So we're going to start with a breakdown of the 2 wild card games we got coming in the next couple of days, and the first round projected for the MLB playoffs. So if you guys are excited to get postseason baseball underway, make sure you leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. So either than that, let's get into the video. So the first game in the MLB wild card is going to be the Yankees and the Red Sox. Now, this is a classic rivalry that spanned over the years of baseball. They're going to be playing at 7 p.m. Tomorrow, which is going to be Tuesday on ESPN. Now, with this classic rivalry being renewed, there's a lot of animosity between these two teams. They straight up don't like each other. And that's going to make for an interesting game for the viewing pleasure of the fans, especially with baseball not having a major fan base with the young population. I think them having a playoff game with such a hated rivalry, sometimes teams want to see those bad bloods, and people want to see the players get into altercations. Both teams had to fight for this playoff spot. Both teams had to scrap to get there, and both teams didn't know if they would be there until the very last game of the season. But I think this is going to keep those teams on their toes, keep them ready for anything, and keep them ready to perform against each other more than anything. We got 3 teams coming from that division, being with Tampa Bay being the best team in the conference. But the Yankees and the Red Sox have proved that they both deserve to be here, and they proved that they're both good enough teams to make this wild card pool and ultimately make the whole postseason pool. Tomorrow we're going to have Nathan Eovaldi going against Garrett Cole. And to me, Garrett Cole's going to have to pitch like an ace. He's going to have to be the man that they pay so much money to in the offseason. This is what he's got that paycheck for. He has to go out there and dominate this Red Sox lineup, which is a fairly good lineup for him to go up against. I think the main thing we have to look out for here is the Judge Stanton versus Devers Bogarts matchup. I think whichever one of these pairs of hitters that can show up the most, who can produce the most for their team, is ultimately going to end up winning this game. Judge and Stanton have been hitting back-to-back for a while now, and the power in between the two have been amazing. The Yankees have been fairly decent since they got their acquisitions at the trade deadline, being Anthony Rizzo and Joey Gallo. Joey Gallo hasn't looked like the guy that he was in Texas, but he's still a threat in the lineup, and he still deserves to be in the lineup. But the progression of Rafael Devers this season has been amazing. He's blossomed into one of the best players in the baseball, and it shows on the field. Xander Bogaerts has been a consummate leader for them on the field and off the field. So this series is going to be, this game is going to be amazing. Whoever wins this game is going to deserve to get that next spot in the playoffs. Unfortunately, they're going to have to run into their division foes with the Rays, but that's going to be a great series in itself, no matter which one of these teams win. To me, I think the Yankees have a little more firepower, and with Garrett Cole going on the mound, I think he's going to be able to do what he wants against the Red Sox. I don't see the Red Sox scoring enough runs in this game, and I think Garrett Cole goes at least into the 8th inning to ensure that his team gets the win. So I'm going to take the Yankees for the first wild card game of the MLB Post. All right, the second wild card game is going to be the National League wild card game, and it's going to be the Dodgers versus the Cardinals, with the Dodgers hosting this game at home. That game is going to be on Wednesday, starts at 7:10, and it's going to be on TBS. So with this being said, the Dodgers have been tied for the best record in baseball, and they have won 106 games this season, which is an extremely high amount and an extremely good season. It's just unfortunate that they're in the same division as the Giants, and they've won just as many games and on the tiebreaker over the two teams because they've won more games against the Dodgers this season. So it's unfortunate that a 106 win team has to be a wild card team and has to fight for their way into the playoffs. But it's even more unfortunate that they have to go against the St. Louis Cardinals. Now the Cardinals come into this series riding a hot streak. They've been hot. They've been really good over these last few weeks of the season. Kind of ran into a bit of a trouble towards the end of the season, but they were able to go ahead and get in and earn their wild card spot here to play against the Dodgers. Now, they recently played each other, these two teams, I think last month, and they split a 4-game set between each other. And those games, they were kind of evenly matched. It was back and forth, a lot of high competition in those two games. So I think this wild card game is going to be a lot closer than a lot of people want to say. The fact that we have Wainwright versus Serger is an excellent matchup. Probably a better pitching matchup than Cole and Evaldi, in my opinion. These are two future MVP pitchers, and they're going to be going against each other, and they're both going to have to bring their A games. I think at this point in his career, Serger's probably a better pitcher than Wainwright, but there's no knock on Adam Wainwright. Adam Wainwright's been here. He knows the moment. He's not going to fold under the pressure. He's going to be ready to go against this stacked Dodgers lineup, and he's going to have to show up and show out. And they're going to have to be able to lock this team down at least a little bit. I think the threshold for them is probably going to be 5 or 6. If the Dodgers are able to score more than 5 or 6 runs, it's just not going to be enough firepower for the Cardinals to score that much. A lot of teams are picking the Dodgers to win the World Series overall. So for them to have such a good matchup as a wild card, and for nobody in the world to be picking the Cardinals to win this matchup is insane, and they have an extreme opportunity. For the Cardinals, there's nothing to lose and everything to gain for them being such a close underdog in this game. So, I mean, it all looks like they're going to have to try to contain Mookie Betts, and the pitching is going to be such a big deal for the Cardinals. Their pitching is going to have to play out of their mind. They're going to have to play even better if they want to go ahead and sneak into the postseason and upset this Dodger team. For me personally, I'll be crazy if I pick the Cardinals to win this game, and I am not a madman, so I will be picking the Dodgers to come out in this game, but I do think it's going to be a lot closer than people are giving the Cardinals credit for. This is a scrappy team, and it says a lot to be hot at the right time in Major League Baseball, especially when it's a one-game winner-take-all. So, like I said, I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people want to give credit for, but I do think the Dodgers ultimately. All right, now we're going to talk about some of the matchups that's already been set here, some of the teams that already know who their opponent is going to be. And we're going to start with the Chicago White Sox visiting the Houston Astros for the first round of the MLB postseason and getting a 5-game set started. Now, my key thing for the White Sox is going to be their bats have to wake up. Their bats have to show up big in this series. Guys like Jose Abreu, Tim Anderson, Yohan Moncada, they're going to rely on those guys to take advantage of some of these Astros woes, some of the back end of the rotation, and definitely some of the bullpen, which can be had on any given night. So they're going to look for Jose Abreu. He finished the season with a .261 average, 30 home runs, and 117 RBIs. He's going to have a big series if they plan on upsetting the Houston Astros, especially with the Astros being at home to start this series off. He's going to have to bring his bat, and it's going to have to be swinging for the fences. But it's not just him. Also, Tim Anderson and Yohan Moncada, both of these guys are power hitters. The Minute Maid Park is a home run friendly park, especially with that short porch out into left field. And with the deep center field, with these guys' power, they can hit a home run in any part of this park. So that's going to be the key for them. Not as much as their pitching. Their pitching is what it is. Those three guys, Cease, Giolito, and Keuchel, are going to show up. They're all going to do their job. But there's only so much that you can do against this Houston Astros lineup that has a bunch of hitters throughout the course of the lineup from top to bottom. Any one of those guys can produce at any given point in the game. So the pitching is going to only be able to do so much. The key here for the Sox, if they're going to win this series, is that their three big bats have to perform, and they have to get the necessary hits in between those guys. But those guys have to show their power. They have to flex their muscle in this series for them to really have an opportunity. Now, when it comes down to the Astros, my key thing for them is good, obvious. It got to be the bullpen. The bullpen has to show up. They have to play better than they played throughout the course of the season. The two big acquisitions that they got at the trade deadline was Kendall Graveman and Yami Garcia. Those guys have to show up and be dominant out of the bullpen. Dusty Baker's going to need to find out which one of these guys he can rely on night in and night out in the postseason. Which one of these guys he can depend on to eat up some innings for him. Usually with Dusty, his starters eat up a lot of innings, but Greinke's getting older. McCullers gets into trouble at times. And Framber Valdez has been inconsistent at best this season. So you can't look for those starters to go 7 or 8 innings anymore. You have to be able to trust the guys like Kendall Graveman and Yami Garcia. And the most important is going to be Ryan Presley, the closer. He's going to have to come in and close out some of these games. With the White Sox, I think the series is going to be a little closer. It's going to be a bunch of close games. But even past the White Sox, if they make it that far, they're going to need Ryan Presley to be dominant. He finished the season with a 2.25 ERA, 81 strikeouts, and 26 saves this season. He was one of the best closers in Major League Baseball, so he's going to have to show up and be that guy for this series for the Astros to get past the White Sox. And as of right now, I think they will. I think this is a 4 or 5 game series. I think the White Sox are good for at least one, especially with the way that they play in Chicago. And with Houston Minute Maid Park being such a home run friendly ballpark, I think the muscle that these guys have in their lineup is going to prevail if they can show up. But I'm going to take Houston in 4 or 5 games. But the bullpen and those bats are going to be key in this series. The next matchup that we're going to have is the Atlanta Braves visiting the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, a lot of people are surprised that the Braves made it this far, that they're even in the postseason. They lost their best player very early in the season to a season-ending injury. But through true grit and determination, they've made it this far, and they've earned their spot into this playoff and this postseason. Now, I think in order for them to continue on in the postseason, they're going to have to rely on their infielders to be great. Not just good, but great. And that's on both sides. They have to be great at the plate, and they have to be Gold Glovers in the field. I think Ozzie Albies, Freddie Freeman, and Austin Riley all have to be 0 errors in this series in order for them to even have a shot of beating the Brewers. Now, that's not to say that they can't do it. These guys have been great. They've been dominant throughout the course of the season, those 3 guys especially. But to highlight Austin Riley, he's been a pleasant surprise for the Atlanta Braves and a big part of the reason why they're here. He finished the season with a 303 batting average, 107 RBIs, and 33 home runs. That's something that they didn't know that they could get from Austin Riley, and he's been able to be a spark plug for them throughout the course of that lineup. But it's going to be very important for this infield to not make mistakes, to be the Gold Glovers that they can be, to show up and not make mistakes against this Brewer lineup that can get up on you really fast and really quick. They have a bunch of guys that you don't expect to be as good as they are. But the Brewers are going to be a problem if they're going to mishandle balls in the infield, and not make the right throws to the bases to get guys out. That's going to be a highly important thing for them. They have to get outs when outs are there for them. Now, as for the Brewers, they're going to have to lean on their rotation. They have 3 guys, and those 3 guys have to be dominant, and they're all pitchers. And then to me, these 3 guys are the best guys that's on their team. They have Corbin Burnes, who has an 11-5 record, finished with a 2.43 ERA, and 234 strikeouts this season. He's been a solid ace for them, and this Braves lineup is going to have their work cut out for them whenever he's on the mound. They also have a guy named Freddie Peralta, 2.81 ERA, 195 strikeouts, and a .97 whip with runners in scoring position. This is very dominant, and those 2 guys are going to have to be the dominant selves that they've been all season against this Braves lineup. And this is what's going to make for a good contrast for this series. For me, this is the most interesting first-round series, not seeing what the wild card matchup is going to be yet. But as far as the set series, this is the more interesting series in my opinion. I can see this series going 7 games. These teams are almost evenly matched. The Brewers have much better pitching, but the Braves have a lineup that won't go away. And it says a lot for a team to be scrappy and to not give up and just fight their way tooth and nail. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Brewers' best pitcher. I have to mention those other 2 pitchers, which is definitely Josh Hader. He finished with a 1.23 ERA, 102 strikeouts, and a .87 runner in scoring position whip. That's insane. That's insane. And for the Braves, you're going to have your lead before he touched the field. I know a lot of times in the playoff, the Brewers like to bring him out there in the 8th inning. So he'll be pitching the 8th and the 9th most of the times. You have to have your lineup set before Josh Hader gets in the game. It's going to be a lot harder for you to try to come back going against him. But I think that these 2 teams, like I said before, are kind of evenly matched. They're close, and I think this is probably be the only 7-game series we get in the first round. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to say that the Brewers maybe pull it off. I think that they have that dominant pitching. And at the end of the day, I think that's going to be coming up clutch for them and what's going to be a big part of this series. All right, and for the two teams that are ready and waiting for their wild card opponents to be wrapped up, the Tampa Bay Rays and the San Francisco Giants. Both of these teams have been dominant. They're the number 1 seeds for a reason. And I think they're probably going to dominate their matchup for whoever they get out of the wild card, to be honest. Now, a lot of people are picking the Dodgers if they make it that past the Cardinals to beat the Giants. And I don't think that people think it's going to be close. But I think that this Giants team is a sneaky good team. They're scary. Their lineup is thorough. And their pitchers are pitching out of their mind. They're an incredibly good team. And it's a reason why they've been at the top of the league for most of the season. A lot of people were waiting for them to come back to earth, for them to wake up from this dream season that they're having. But they're here, and they're a threat to be dealt with, and people are going to have to accept that the Giants are going to be a problem for this season and for this postseason. Even if they do play the Dodgers, I'm picking the Giants to win that series. I think that the Giants can beat them in 6. I don't even think it goes 7. And for it to be the top 2 teams in baseball going against each other in the first round of the postseason, it's a little unfortunate. You kind of want to see those guys match up right before the World Series. But, hey, it is what it is. That's the matchup we're probably going to end up getting. And like I said, a lot of people will sleep on what the Giants can bring, but I'm not. I'm wide awake on the things that they've been doing all season and the way that they've played defense and offense for baseball. I think that the Giants are on a track to go to the World Series, especially once they get past the Dodgers. I don't think there's going to be a team in baseball left that's going to be able to stop them. So that's going to be a great launching pad for them to continue on in the postseason. As far as the Rays go, the Rays are the Rays. They have the same formula that they've had for years now. And it's the same formula that's got them to the postseason and deep into the postseason for the past few years. And that's a dominant pitching staff. It doesn't matter who's the starter. It doesn't matter who's the reliever that comes out of the bullpen. They believe in all those guys, and they have every right to believe in those guys because they are ferocious. They are guys that's going to come in and shut down almost any lineup. Now, we're going to go more in depth with these two teams once we figure out who their opponent's going to be for the first round. But like I said, these two teams are dominant. They're scary for anybody in the Major League Baseball to play against. But we'll see who their wild card winner is going to be, who they're going to end up matching up with. And I'll give you a little more insight on their team when that time comes. All right, and there you have it. A breakdown of the MLB postseason, matchups that we have set, and the matchups that we're probably going to see in the future. I have a full breakdown on how I think everything goes out, picking my World Series winner once we get these wild card games wrapped up and we get the playoff field pretty fully set. Now it's time for the comment of the day. Let me know who you think is going to be the wild card winner, and let me know who you think is going to win the World Series. There's a lot of good teams that's in the pool this year, and these games are not going to be easy to pick. So let me know what you guys got, and I'll let you know who I got a little later on this week. Now, if you're not currently subscribed to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and make sure you leave a like and comment on the comment of the day. I'll be checking you guys out down there at the bottom. And other than that, I'm out, man. I appreciate y'all, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.